increasing rapidly. Currently, there are 1,414 students on scholarship at the University of the Gambia, UTG. We support 600 more students in various institutions, and 734 Gambian students are on scholarship abroad. Madam Speaker, the UTG graduated its first batch of doctoral students in public administration through the Nigerian Technical Assistance Program. It has enrolled 2 more cohorts of postgraduate students, one of which is a doctoral degree program in law. I am delighted to report the expected completion of the first 2 lots of the UTG Fraba Banta campus project this year, 2021. However, the sector is working to mobilize the $22 million US dollars funding gap for the remaining construction works. We hope that the Ndemban Skills Center in Fonyi, West Coast region, will begin operations next academic year to train our youth and equip them with relevant livelihood skills. Interior, Madam Speaker, apart from their regular law enforcement core mandate, the Gambia Police Force, GPF, is engaged in infrastructure development, professional advancement, and training. To increase police management and operational capabilities, the formulation of the institutional policies begun in the last quarter of 2020 is progressing steadily. Fittingly also, a code of conduct for the police has been developed and adopted for the anti-crime unit. Furthermore, an arrest and detention procedure manual is in use after its successful development in collaboration with the Geneva Center for Security Sector Governance. Madam Speaker, the Immigration Department monitors and regulates entry and exit at our border points. Besides issuing relevant identity documents for citizens and residents, despite the pandemic, it is commendable that the department collected $91,980,370 from January to 31st December 2020. On drug control, the National Drug Control Strategy 2019-2023 continues to foster vigilance and action against drug abuse and trafficking. The recent seizures of huge quantities of cocaine and other drugs attest to this. Accordingly, we will continue to support and empowering the agency to perform better and prevent the country from becoming a hub for drug trafficking. Lands, regional governments, and religious affairs. Madam Speaker, in 2020, the Department of Community Development strategically focused on emergency response and recovery. These included capacity building and strengthening their decentralized structures to better address conflicts on land and natural resources, as well as operationalize rent recovery mechanism. The initiatives employed include harnessing positive social norms and the environment. In particular, the sector worked in partnership with the National Nutrition Agency and the Department of Social Welfare to implement the Social Safety Net project. These aside, the 2018-2021 Local Climate Adaptive Living Project, funded by the UNDP, is in progress to reduce poverty through green and resilient climate-smart related interventions. The focus of this project is creating sustainable and equal employment opportunities with attention on the youth and women. The main objective is to enhance their capacity in food processing, handicraft skills, and business enterprise development. Tactically, the project targets the North Bank, Lower River, and Central River regions. I have noted with appreciation that the Department of Community Development is working amicably with the Department of Water Resources and the National Assembly to implement the Climate Smart Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Development Project. Honorable members, land rent collection from hoteliers and other industries dropped due to the COVID-19 lockdown and travel restrictions. Regretfully, therefore, the 2020 revenue performance for this sector stood at $32,913,776. A similar trend is unfolding this year. The impact of COVID-19 was so severe on the regional council that central government had to intervene by providing a salary package for them. To enhance decentralization, the Ministry of Lands, Regional Governments and Religious Affairs is building capacity for ward development committees on planning and budgeting and equipping them with financial management skills and auditing techniques to ease accountability and transparency. This links neatly with the decision of rolling out the IFMIS to area council in order to increase efficiency and effectiveness in fiscal discipline and transparency. The Land and Survey Directorate updated 416 lease files in 2019 and 424 in 2020. We expect a similar trend by the end of 2021. On physical planning and housing, the Kotu Action Area Plan physical survey is 90% complete. The processing of real estate agency applications now takes place at the physical planning headquarters. Similarly, land allocation has reduced drastically with fewer than 5,000 allocations recorded. On legislation, the sector is finalizing the NGO bill for enactment later this year. Fisheries, water resources, and National Assembly matters, Madam Speaker. My administration remains committed to providing access to safe drinking water and releasing timely and accurate weather and climate information. To achieve this, through the support of the African Development Bank, AFDB, the Department of Water Resources will construct and install 1,404 solar-powered pipe water supply systems to provide safe and quality drinking water for additional 400,000 rural residents. With help from the Japanese government, 20 other solar-powered pipe water supply systems will be constructed and installed in 2021 to serve 80,000 persons in rural communities. On legislative matters, government will introduce 2 bills to this August Assembly for a comprehensive water act and to establish a new National Water Resources Management Authority. The National Water Resources Council Act 22 of 1979 is still the main legal instrument for water resource management in the Gambia. Because it is outdated, government is reviewing it and will submit for consideration a bill to establish a meteorological authority. Madam Speaker, the fisheries sector is crucial in diversifying the economy. Thus, it is reviewing its policy and regulatory frameworks to effect sustainable reforms. In the meantime, rehabilitation of the fish ponds in the Jahali layout in Sapu has a production capacity of 10,000 tons of quality fish to mitigate the fish supply deficit in the country. The fish ponds will enhance food and nutritional security in rural communities. Trade, industry, regional integration, and employment, Madam Speaker. Despite the constraint posed by the pandemic, the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration, and Employment registered significant progress on its priority programs. Key among them is the development of a new medium-term plan 2021 to 2025. The ministry also reviewed and updated the 2007 Labour Act to align it with ILO standards and international best practices. It will submit the bill to the National Assembly for consideration. To strengthen labor administration, the sector equally revised and updated the Injuries Compensation and Factories Act and will submit it to this Assembly. Madam Speaker, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to implement the revised Labour Acts, the Ministry of Trade has established an Employment Service Center at the Department of Labor. This is to facilitate linkages between job seekers and employers. The new 5-year sector strategy plan will help to make the center effective. To promote exports and investment, the ministry, through GAIPA, successfully developed a new national export strategy 2021-2025. The strategy outlines key priority areas such as agribusiness, fashion, tourism, and fisheries for the Gambia to realize its export development aspirations. In addition, the sector through GAIPA issued 18 special investment certificates, SICs, in 2020. These had a combined investment portfolio of $93,615,493 US and a combined employment capacity of 824 staff members, of which 279 are women. Under the Sea Trades project reported last year, 12 sea trades companies benefited from mini grants, receiving combined support of $2.7 million. In order to strengthen trade cooperation and promotion, the sector produced during the year under review an AFCFTA national implementation strategy to implement the AFCFTA protocol in the country. They also formulated a national regional integration policy and strategy 2020-2025. The two documents focus primarily on production and business expansion for Gambian enterprises. Information and communication technology. Madam Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic has reinforced the need for increased ICT-driven solutions, so much so that the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology has prioritized the rollout of a national technology hub this year. To strengthen cybersecurity and protect the Gambia's cyberspace, Ministry of Information took the initiative to formulate the cyber crime and data protection and privacy bills. The ministry will table both before this August Assembly once they are finalized. Their enactment will equip the Gambia with the requisite laws to fight cybercrime-related offenses. Madam Speaker, in order to maintain the government acts regulatory and policy reforms over the past year, I am glad that the Access to Information Bill 2019 has now been enacted into law. We also look forward to the enactment of the ICT Act Amendment Bill 2020 by this August Assembly. In addition, in 2019, the government tabled the Criminal Code Amendment Bill before this August body. The objective is to repeal all the draconian media laws that my government inherited. Madam Speaker, it is delightful to announce that The combined effort to enhance the work of the media and respect media freedoms have earned the Gambia a continuous favorable rating during these 4 years. The 2021 Global Press Freedom Ranking of the Gambia, for example, has improved from 9th position in West Africa to 10th in the sub-Saharan Africa. With the new reforms and the increase in the number of media houses in the country, we now stand at 40 radio stations, 6 television stations, and numerous online outlets. It is evident that the Gambia is in the right direction concerning media freedoms. Petroleum and energy, Madam Speaker. The drilling component of FAR Petronas is now scheduled for 2021. On the other hand, BP announced a significant policy shift of reducing their exploration activities worldwide. My government has reached a settlement with them for their work plan commitments in Block A. Based on this, $30.25 million has been paid to the government as compensation for not fulfilling their obligation to drill a well as per the Lansing Agreement. BP is expected also to settle the outstanding rental fees and contributions to the Training and Resource Fund. With these settlements, $500,000 to help cope the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Furthermore, they have pledged a grant of $500,000 for crucial projects in our priority areas. On economic and technical cooperation. In addition, the Chinese government provided a grant of 300 million yen for the National Transmission and Distribution Project. This is a top priority for my administration. The Gambia government is grateful to all its development partners and will work to strengthen them. Office of the Vice President, Madam Speaker. To begin with regulation, in 2020, the Food Safety and Quality Authority developed and gazetted the Registration and Licensing Regulation and the Food Fortification Regulation. It also drafted 2 regulations on food packaging and alcohol. Last year, in collaboration with the Department of Community Development, the Director of Social Welfare and the National Social Protection Secretariat began implementing the $31 million Social Safety Net project. The project targets very poor persons in the West Coast, North Bank, Central River, Upper River, and Lower River regions. One of the components of the project, NAFA, provide cash transfers of $1,500 each to about 15,600 poor households for 18 months. As part of government efforts to mitigate the impact of the pandemic, 78,359 households in 30 districts received support with a double round of $3,000 cash transfers covering July to October. The National Disaster Management Agency, NDMA, under the Office of the Vice President, continues to engage in providing relief support to households affected by the pandemic in various regions. Regarding disaster, during the reporting period, some victims in the country received support in the form of cash, food, and non-food items. Honorable members, the validated National Nutrition Policy 2018-2025 and the draft nutrition bill are scheduled for submission to Cabinet and the National Assembly, respectively, for approval and enactment. Aside from this, the National Population Policy will be revised this year, 2021. On civil service reform, the Personnel Management Office, PMO, aims to maintain an efficient and duly responsive public sector. In this respect, Cabinet has approved the Pay and Grading Review report. The objective of the review is to overhaul the current pay and grading structure of the civil service. PMO has designed a new civil service grading system and a pay and incentive policy to establish, among other things, a realistic minimum monthly salary for civil servants. To repeal the 1950 Pension Act, a new pension bill is before the National Assembly. When enacted, it will address all issues on pension. Importantly also, PMO is working on reintroducing a performance management system in the civil service. Other areas in the civil service reform include conducting financial reviews to streamline and rationalize the mandates of MDAs. Agriculture, Madam Speaker. The government vision is to increase food and nutrition security while enhancing economic growth through the agriculture sector. The Ministry of Agriculture strives, therefore, to increase productivity based on the sustainable use and management of our natural resources. To achieve this, the Agricultural Transformation Program, ATP, has been structured around production and productivity, promotion of value chains, market competitiveness, and youth employment in agriculture. To increase production and support the farming community, during the 2020 cropping season, 36,489 bags of fertilizer, 3,751 bags of improved rice varieties, 2,358 bags of granules, 727 bags of maize, of Findi were procured and made available to our farmers. In preparation for this cropping season, the Ministry of Agriculture through GGC procured a consignment of 20,000 metric tons of fertilizer and delivered it in March 2021. I am proud to say that government also distributed farm implements to farmers to reduce unnecessary hard work and boost production and productivity. The items included power tillers, threshers, and milling and pumping machines. For use this farming season, 50 tractors were distributed recently. To develop the agricultural value chain and marketing promotion, the ATP will continue to promote mechanization by supplying land preparation, seeding, and weeding machines. Implementing the project will upgrade and upscale rice processing by introducing an integrated rice parboiling and milling machines through public-private partnership. The ATP will promote small-scale processing at the level of the farmers. Training small-scale processors will expose them to good processing practices for product safety and quality assurance, besides investments in expanding irrigation facilities. Government will continue to invest in mechanized harvesting methods to stimulate mechanical tracing and reduce the workload on women. Rightly too, the sector put due emphasis on supporting medium-scale businesses, processing facilities, strengthening public and private sector veterinary service delivery, and efficient management of resources. On a parallel development from its $100 million supplementary budget allocation, the agriculture sector spent $60 million on equipment. On the list, we are tracing and milling machines, power tillers, harvesters, and pumping machines for irrigation. Aside from this, drought animals were purchased and distributed to the farmers on demand. Specific to value chain financing, the program will expand matching grant funds using grassroots structures such as credit union. Similarly, it is hoped that initiating at least 5 agricultural insurance schemes will make agricultural lending safer. Through PPP, the program will provide seed money for these schemes. On the other hand, the PPP will entrust the partner private sector insurance body with the management responsibilities. Besides, it will facilitate establishing an agricultural development bank that focuses on development financing for agricultural value chain. Tourism and culture, Madam Speaker. The indication is that the tourism and culture sector contributes about 25% of the gross domestic product, GDP, and creates employment for about 200,000 jobs. Unfortunately, it is one of the hardest hit sectors as a result of travel restrictions. Overall, the estimated loss to the sector from January to June 2020 was about $6.7 billion. This figure has undoubtedly increased, noting that many establishments are still struggling to get back to full operations. In 2020, the Gambia Tourism Board, GTB, recorded 89,232 arrivals. The figure marks a significant decline against the NDP target. In 2021, the arrival figure further decreased to 50,000. Consequently, the loss of revenue to GTB is high. As part of its support packages, Government gave the tourism sector a $100 million stimulus package. This year, the government will bear the operating license for hotels and municipal rates. The GTB is not expecting any revenue from operational license in 2021. The National Center for Arts and Culture experienced similar setbacks during the year under review. The closing or scaling down of social events resulted in loss of revenue. Thus, it is necessary to develop the sector through innovative means. Defense, Madam Speaker. The development of the national security policy. The national security strategy and the security sector reform strategy. By this sector is a major step towards a landmark transformation of the security services. To reinforce this, the Ministry of Defense is developing a national defense policy. In like manner, the Gambia Armed Forces Act, which came into existence in 1984, and the terms and conditions of service for officers and soldiers developed in 1993 are all under review to meet the realities of the day, Madam Speaker. The Gambia Armed Forces, GAF, leadership demonstrated commendable solidarity with other sectors to tackle the pandemic. For example, the GAF command attached medical doctors and other essential personnel to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center of the Ministry of Health. Similarly, they provided logistical support and participated in various activities to control the spread of the pandemic. As part of the security sector reform process, we will continue to embark on more purposeful and realistic training programs for our armed forces. We have entrusted them with the security of the nation and will support them to the fullest. Transport, works, and infrastructure, Madam Speaker. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the transport, works, and infrastructure sector registered impressive results. By the end of 2020, government had achieved 100% completion of the 818-kilometer primary road network set in the NDP. This covers the north and south banks of the country. In addition to a paved distance of 650 kilometers also completed 120 kilometers of the Lamin-Kotro-Pasamas road and the 48-kilometer road from Basse to Koin. Complementing the Lamin-Kotro-Pasamas road is a secondary paved road of 13 kilometers connecting Yerobawol to Basse. An other link to the Lamin-Kotro-Pasamas road is an 18-kilometer paved distance from Kellen Johnson to Bustown. Added to the network of the Lamin-Kotro-Pasamas project are two gravel feeder roads of about 20 kilometers. These comprise the Sare-Teneng-Sarengai road link and the Nyakoi-Mbaikunda-Dasilame link. With the primary road network completed, the sector is engaging in constructing secondary and tertiary road links and bridges. Along the new Basse-Koina road, two new bridges at the Chamwe and Sudwol, 25 meters and 32 meters long, respectively, have been completed this year. In Basse, a 250-meter bridge and an other 170-meter bridge in Fatoto have been completed. This $82 million project was financed through a grant from the government of the People's Republic of China. Following the completion of the Sukuta-Jambanjeli secondary link road of 13.5 kilometers, the government is constructing 108 kilometers of feeder roads to ease and expand access to economic and social facilities in various parts of rural Gambia. This project, funded through the EU UNOP grant, has been completed. We have initiated major secondary paved roads on the North Bank, mainly using local resources and funding. Currently, works are in progress to construct 88 kilometers of paved roads in the Nyomi-Hakalang area. Accompanying this is an other set of roads totaling to 175 kilometers. The contract was awarded in January 2020 to be completed in 16 months. Madam Speaker, the construction of the Kiang West roads has commenced with 38 kilometers of paved roads. The execution period is 12 calendar months. Negotiations are underway for the contractor to continue with the remaining 46 kilometers in Kiang. In the capital city of Banjul, the government reconstructed 14 kilometers of severely dilapidated roads and drains using local funds under the Banjul Rehabilitation Project. In a similar development, the government has secured funding from Saudi Fund for Development, SFD, equal to $50 million to construct 50-kilometer roads in the greater Banjul area. From the Kuwaiti Fund for Arab Economic Development, Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, OPEC Fund for International Development, and Abu Dhabi Fund, government secured $83 million to upgrade the Batin-Hardin Highway into a dual carriage of 22 kilometers. This stretches from Yundum Johnson to Sittingcon for months. Contracts have been signed as well using local funds for the maintenance, rehabilitation, and reconstruction of selected roads in the greater Banjul area. They include Bakote Kotu Highway, Bursubi Phase 2 Access Road, Kanifing Estate Access Road, and Kololi Gamtel Access Road. The estimated cost is $90 million. On building projects, the major rehabilitation and reconstruction works at the Banjul International Airport is now complete, doubling the capacity of the main terminal building. The traffic control tower was renovated during the year and re-equipped with new communication facilities. Works are ongoing to construct a new VIP lounge. Additional building projects include construction of the governor's residence and offices in Kerewan, both of which are progressing well and due for completion this year. There are ongoing construction works for markets in various parts of the country. Among them are the fire-ravaged markets of Basay and Brikama, and the Latrikunda, Soma, and Farafenye markets. Finally, the ministry has developed a public building and facilities management bill and will submit it to this August Assembly for consideration. The bill proposes a new framework for the design, construction, operation, and management of all government assets, both in the country and abroad. Justice, Madam Speaker. My administration will never waver in upholding the principles of good governance, democracy, the rule of law, and respect for human rights. In this respect, with support from the UNDP, the Ministry of Justice succeeded in developing a strategic plan 2021-2025 and revised the 2013 Sexual Offences Act, the 1994 Evidence Act, and the 2016 Legal Practitioners Act. In the same vein, the legislative reforms and transitional justice process commenced in 2017, resulting in the presentation of various bills to this August Assembly. These range from matters of crime, human rights, and freedom to amendments of discriminatory laws against women. We hope to have all pending bills enacted and implemented eventually. As disclosed earlier, consultation and dialogue are continuing to build consensus on a revised draft constitution. My government will provide support to this to happen amicably. On policy, the Ministry of Justice now has a National Human Rights Policy and Action Plan 2021-2025. The government ministries, departments, and agencies will implement the action plan jointly with national and international agencies and partners. Externally, the Gambia signed and deposited the instrument of ratification for the Gambia's accession to the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization on Trademarks, otherwise known as the Banjul Protocol. It came into effect in May 2021. Hopefully, it will lead to more investments in the Gambia and boost revenue generation. Regarding registration of businesses and companies, the single window business registry registered a 21% drop in revenue from March and June 2020 compared to the previous year from January to August 2021. 1,500 companies were registered compared to 1,340 during the same period. Despite the challenges, the SWBR managed to collect $17,946,700 from January to December 2020. Supported by the UNDP, the ministry will review the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act 2005 this year to incorporate more progressive provision on dispute resolution. Focusing attention on legal aid, in 2020, the National Agency for Legal Aid Services, tasked to provide legal services across the country, received a total of 486 cases. Out of this, 147, representing 30% of the cases, were resolved. The remaining ones are ongoing. Madam Speaker, in January of this year, government extended the mandate of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission by 6 months to enable the Commission to complete and submit its report this year. Once the report is received, government will study it for appropriate action. Internationally, we have complied with all international obligations, and I assure this August Assembly that we will continue to respect our legal obligations. The Judiciary 5-year strategic plan, launched in January 2021, provides a solid framework to promote an independent, effective, and efficient justice system. We look forward to the forthcoming donor conference with UNDP assistance to secure funding for its implementation. Health, Madam Speaker. Focusing on the pandemic, the government has sourced essential supplies and encouraged local production to meet part of the country's demand for them. As of now, my administration and our development partners have committed over $200 million on medical and non-medical supplies. As a result, the health sector was able to secure substantial face masks, gowns, goggles, IPC materials, ventilators, and other vital equipment for use countrywide, Madam Speaker. Ndemban Clinic and the Sanatorium now operate as treatment centers for people infected by the coronavirus. 3 other treatment centers, Esew, Soma, and Bansam, are in use, and the construction of 8 others in various parts of the country are started. These projects were supported mainly by the United Nations agencies. The Gambia received its first batch of COVAX vaccines in record time, and the vaccination campaign has been a success. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine donated by the government of the United States is now being administered successfully across the country. Government plan to construct an emergency treatment center with 104 beds in Farad. It will have 20 fully equipped ICU rooms. The World Bank is supporting the construction works and will provide the equipment. The project is the first phase of a proposed teaching hospital in Farad with 1,500 beds and at least 17 faculties. The contracts for another set of 8 permanent treatment centers housing 40 beds have been awarded already. In this endeavor, we appreciate the support of the World Bank, SSHFC, UNFPA, and TAF Global. Honorable members, through the expanded program on immunization, the health sector is administering vaccinations against 12 preventable diseases. The government is working on mobilizing resources to secure about 2.5 million doses of vaccines for national coverage. Working with our partners, we intend to vaccinate at least 60% of the population. As part of efforts to realize and implement the concept of primary health care, PHC, in the country, PHC has increased in few key villages from 722 to 942, marking an increase of 30%. In a new development, plans are at an advanced stage to establish a national community ambulancing service with an initial fleet of 70 ambulances. Complementing this is the plan to renovate 50 facilities and construct 6 new health centers and 13 new health posts. All this will contribute tremendously to strengthening our health system. Finally, I thank the honorable members for approving the National Health Insurance Authority Bill tabled here some time ago. Department of Strategy, Policy and Delivery, Madam Speaker. With the support of UNDP and the Department of Strategy, Policy and Delivery, DSPD, under my office, has made significant progress in building capacity and strengthening the much-needed tools for improved analysis, information sharing, stakeholder engagement, and training in the country. During the reporting period, the department completed and circulated a comprehensive compilation of government policies to extend the reach for evidence-based policy development and implementation. The DSPD earlier this year launched a policy forum on research and policy development. As expected, the department continues to monitor the implementation of the priority projects within the MDAs for timely service delivery. They are also coordinating and monitoring the performance of the President's flagship program for accelerated community development project reported here last year. Madam Speaker, the DSPD is coordinating government's response to the 2019 TIP report recommendations. The staff is working closely with the National Agency Against Trafficking in Persons and the National Task Force on Trafficking in Persons, TIP. In this respect, I am happy to report that the upgrading of the Gambia from Tier 2 watchlist status in 2020 TIP report resulted in the country's reselection for the Millennium Challenge Corporation threshold from December 2020. Madam Speaker, the SPD is also implementing an open government initiative, OGI Hour, to promote regular communication and enhance dialogue at the central and local levels. The initiatives seek to foster transparency and accountability in public policy. This is supported by the UNP's Building Fund to enhance private sector participation in national development. Our Excellency the Vice President and the DSPD continue to support the Ministry of Trade's reforms to improve ease of doing business in the Gambia. Thus far, the key milestones include providing credit rating at the Central Bank of the Gambia, bringing back the single business registry and creating a dedicated commercial court. Concluding remarks. Honorable Speaker, honorable members of the National Assembly, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as this address shows, my government has registered significant successes over the years. On the other hand, the issues raised in the address demonstrate clearly that the tasks at hand are many and quite complex. Addressing them effectively require unity, peace, stability, and the desire and will to promote and defend the nation's cause. Without the pandemic, our rate of development and achievement levels would have been much better. But as good citizens and true democrats, we should appropriately and honorably respond to challenges by remaining focused, continuing to manage our affairs, and move on undeterred. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, the national discourse on the country's political evolution has been a significant source of divergence. The executive acknowledges its importance and appreciates the various stands of social life, political standpoints, governance structures, and development approaches fed into it. With reference to this, it is worth emphasizing that my administration's performance needs to be examined within the context of 2016, with due consideration given to the state of the Gambian economy at the time, the socio-political divisions, the poverty levels, the disparities, the high unemployment rate, the dysfunctional government machinery and systems, and the inappropriate use of state resources. The future is much brighter today because of the opportunities created from 2017 to date. Now we can forge ahead with insightful lessons from the past and the present. These are tangible results to build upon for consolidation and expansion. To cite a few examples, these range from the substantial gains made in the energy supply and infrastructure development, to the achievements recorded in the critical components of institutional strengthening and the reforms across all sectors: transitional justice, education and training, civil liberties, media freedom, health and agriculture development. Fortunately, our vision is clear and we have well-defined goals for future action. I will personally continue to appeal to the people's sense of civic responsibility as genuine patriotic citizens committed to democratic principles and values, to give the nation their utmost. I urge further that we engage in constructive participation in all national and community issues and events. Aside from this, let us engage in constructive dialogue and discharge our civic and social responsibilities diligently. While we individually have the freedom and right to define and express the concepts that inform our philosophies, we must be alive to other people's ideas and the values that cut across social life, religious conviction, and peaceful coexistence. Democracy guarantees voice and participation to each citizen, but it does so with conditions. Universally, multi-party democracy, which our constitution seeks to uphold, is derived from legitimacy as defined by the law. Thus, the law must guide our actions. Unfortunately, we have noticed and experienced in some instances unjust and deliberate actions that are anti-democratic, yet they are committed in the name of democracy. As human beings, it is contrary to good citizenship to disregard our sense of justice and act on impulse, grudge, hate, revenge, or engage in crime and other negative tendencies that undermine progress and development for the people. In this context, we must appreciate the worth of every citizen, honor the labor of every worker, and reward everyone in due course. As Gambians, we must be sensitive to the pain, sorrows, and desires of those around us, and work towards making life easy and comfortable for every one of us. Concern for the welfare of all is the essence of inclusive development and progress in a democracy. I am happy that together we supported and empathized with the victims of the 7 July windstorm. This is the true Gambian spirit. Let our citizenship rights, blood and social ties, religious faith, goodwill and love for family and nation unite us. Indeed, our common values should oblige us to work together in the best interest of the country. Crucially, all these need to be understood and put into practice in accordance with the Constitution and the laws and principles that govern our institutions. For government, the legal frameworks and operational arrangements of our institutions will continue to condition the content of our national agenda and plan. Madam Speaker, in the face of COVID-19 pandemic, my government has continued to show character, and so have the people. Let us sustain these spirits. As we prepare for the December presidential election, it rests on all categories of leaders and influential parties, especially those belonging to the political parties, to plead peace and stability for another cycle of free, fair, and transparent elections. Let the Gambian citizens be allowed to vote for the candidates of their choice without pressure or hindrance. I ask the security personnel to be more vigilant than ever and ensure that the rule of law prevails. It is a duty on everyone to fight the criminals in the country and a collective responsibility to stop every form of injustice. Honorable Speaker, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I thank everyone for supporting my government, especially when it matters most. This includes our partners who have stood by us as we pursue the advancement of our dear country. In particular, I thank every Gambian citizen, either living in the country or the diaspora, and every resident of the country for making this transition period a very successful one. The dissenting voices in a democracy contribute to success if taken into consideration for positive action. This has helped me immensely as a statesman and Democrat, so I acknowledge every citizen's positive contribution to the nation. Madam Speaker, to you and all honorable members of this August Assembly, I sincerely express my appreciation and gratitude. Through the National Assembly, you made many decisions and approved numerous bills. The budget requests granted have contributed remarkably to the multiple projects my administration has implemented successfully, as well as those in progress. Thank you very much indeed. I renew my promise to the people of this beloved land and the international community to commit myself to the principles of democracy, good governance, and the rule of law within the framework of serving my people and my country selflessly and devotedly. In this regard, I ask for your continued support and cooperation. To conclude, I thank you all for your attention and pray that the Almighty God continues to bless our efforts, protect us, and grant us peace and stability. I thank you.
Thank you, 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 thank you. Your microphone. Your microphone. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for that address. And may I now request for the seconder to the admission. Honorable Member for Upper Salum. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion.
Very much. I'm sorry, only one honorable member can second the motion. I know everybody is eager, but thank you very much. It has been moved and seconded that this assembly do consider the motion on the State of the Nation address delivered by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it. Thank you. Honorable members, the consideration and debate proper on the motion so tabled will now be adjourned till Monday, the 13th of September, 2021, to give honorable members adequate time to peruse through the address, which will be circulated later. But before I adjourn the sitting, please allow me once more, on behalf of both sides of the Assembly, and indeed on my own behalf, to thank His Excellency, the President of the Republic, for delivering this year's State of the Nation address. Yes, it is indeed a statutory obligation of the President to address the Assembly at least once in each year, but the manner in which the address was delivered this year deserves commendation. The address has indeed outlined the programs and policies of the state. This Assembly will, in the next few days, reflect and debate on the policy statement already delivered. The address will also give us an opportunity to reflect on our achievements and challenges we face as a nation that sincerely demand for national unity, cohesion, peace, and stability for the betterment and progress of our dear country. As the people's representatives, we are charged to commit ourselves to ensure that government policies and programs as outlined are thoroughly scrutinized and debated upon with due diligence. Thus, it is important for us to have a clear understanding of the government's policies, development programs, and aspirations. In a similar vein, Your Excellency, the legislature wishes to recognize in high esteem the efforts of the executive once more in introducing the National Service Bill under a special procedure to ensure it was passed with expediency. This is a testament of the executive's commitment and goodwill in strengthening the institution of Parliament for the general good of democratic governance. And on that note, I would once more express thanks and appreciation to His Excellency, the President of the Republic, for this year's State of the Nation address, and in the same vein, express thanks and gratitude to Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic, my Lord, the Chief Justice and Justices of the Superior Courts, Honorable Ministers, Your Excellencies, former Vice Presidents of the Republic, Honorable former Speakers of the National Assembly, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, Service Chiefs, the Lord Mayors of Banjul and Kanifing Municipality, senior government officials here in present, Regional Chief Executive Officers, the traditional leaders, venerable religious leaders, members of the press, and all distinguished invited guests for gracing this solemn occasion in the calendar year of the National Assembly. And in addition, on behalf of both sides of this August Assembly, I wish to register our thanks to the entire country for the support and collaboration in our collective drive for nation building. To my honorable colleagues of the National Assembly, I want to reiterate that national development is an enormous task. And as a legislature, our role is very paramount. Thus, I pray that we always be guided in our deliberations by justice and conscience towards the common good. May I also thank all honorable members, the Office of the Clerk, the task force, and all those who in their various ways contributed immensely to making this day a success. I pray that Allah the Almighty bless and guide all of us. And on that note, may I once more put the question to adjourn the Assembly until Monday, the 13th of September, 2021. However, I wish to request that all guests remain seated to allow His Excellency, the President and the Vice President and honorable ministers to take leave of the chambers first. And I thank you all And on that note, I will now put the question, be it resolved that this August Assembly do stand adjourned till Monday, the 13th of September, 2021. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. The Assembly now stands adjourned till Monday, the 13th of September, 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt. I thank you all for your kind attention. Please can we allow His Excellency.
Absolutely, this is the moment we have all been waiting for. We've actually seen the president address the nation, and then, he is about to take his leave. We've seen he has been been ushered out by the protocols, and we can see a number of people with the security officers. Omar, this is actually the moment we have all been waiting for.
Yeah, actually, this is nice to see. Every year, this is expected of the president, and he has done. He has done that. He has delivered his statement, and I think Gambians have heard him well. The representative of Gambians were in Parliament, and they've heard him. And I think now onwards, going towards December, and then before next year, the parliamentarians have a lot of time to scrutinize what he has said. They would take a look at a lot of things that the president has said in detail. And then probably some of these ministers will come in Parliament, and then they will answer questions on some of the areas, key areas that the president have talked about, which is very important because governments really want to know some of the improvements that have been made. Even though the president have made mention of most of them, now it's the role of the parliamentarians to scrutinize them to see whether all that the president have delivered here, whether they were true or they were just false, they were just put in black and white just to satisfy the ear of the listeners and those watching, and also the Gambians at large.
Absolutely. This is actually one advantage that it has for the National Assembly, for NAMS, National Assembly members, because if you actually do it around January, February, people will just take note. It will actually set help pressure groups. But now it gives a bigger opportunity to the National Assembly, because some of the issues that had been mentioned, this must be projects that actually occurred in their constituencies. So now they can go back and see what is actually reported, and then what is actually happening in their constituencies. And then it can also help them to ensure that by the time the president comes back for the Q&A, that is the question and answer sessions,
the vice president comes back for the Q&A.
The president or the vice president?
The vice president comes back for the Q&A.
It can be the president as well.
Usually over the years, what happens is the president delegates the vice president to come and answer the questions from the representatives.
It's the office of the president.
So the president, we agree, but not directly the president himself.
Yes.
We've seen over the years that the president doesn't come for question Q&A. He only delegates the vice president.
Yes, but like either the president or the vice president, whosoever comes, this will be actually issues that will be highlighted. Omar, the issue of COVID-19 had actually emerged again. We have seen it had actually flip-flop from 2022 to 2020, coming to 2021 and going back to 2022. It has been flipping flop in and out within the 2 years, 2020, 2021. Absolutely, more specifically when it comes to the COVID-19, the government support had been in 2020, and he has mentioned that again. But going also on the issue of education, he has highlighted very important issues, such as the issue of structures for actually to enhance a better learning environment. And also he has also mentioned the issue of the structures that are built. His major achievements had been on infrastructural development, more specifically on roads. And then some days to come, we're hearing the transport union on a threat. But we were expecting that he was going to address that. That issue had not been mentioned. Actually, I don't know to what degree, but my expectation was he was going to mention how have the responsible ministry gone, so that this will also allay the fears of the people that are actually watching.
Yeah, that is also a very important point, because transport has been a challenge in the Gambia nowadays, especially in the Greater Banjul area. So, like you said, it would have been good for the president to make mention, because I have heard Omar Sise, the transport union president, saying they've gone to the office of the president several times to hold meetings with them. So we don't know what the outcome of those meetings are. We still know that the transport union are still insisting that on Monday, on the 13th, they will go on with their sit-down strike. And if that happens, I think that will derail a bit of our economy, and then it will also cause challenges to commuters, those people going to several places, especially to their workplaces. It would have been important for the president to highlight some key decisions that they've made on that part. But I think the president have made mention a lot of things. For example, infrastructure. We all know this government have done great in terms of infrastructure, especially in the rural areas. In the rural areas, we know rural Gambia, they've been suffering with in terms and orders. But I think that recently we've seen this government have put in a lot of efforts to connect the rural people with the urban people. And I think that is very important. But then the president also made mention of the disability bill that was tabled in parliament in June 2020 last year. And I think that bill is very important to Kausu because we have people in our society who are not, let me not say represented because they are part of us, they are in our society, but it seems they are left behind. In most cases, governments they don't look after them. It means they don't have right in our societies, and I think that is very important for the president to make mention. And that bill, I think, shouldn't just be tabled under the dustbin. We should not just throw it in the dustbin. It should be one thing that we should always try to test. We should test that bill. We should try to see how we can take care of our people who many of us feel have been left behind by society.
Omar, absolutely, this is one of the bills that had been talked about since the moment of 2017. That one and also the elimination of the draconian laws in the media. He talked about his major achievement, and that is the access to information bill. However, there are still laws untouched in the constitution that are actually terrifying and threatening to media practitioners and also media professionals. But he has actually taught it. But this time around, he only brushed it and moved on because we have actually seen that he didn't go into in-depth as he used to be. One, could it be as a result of the alliance with the APRC? But also, could it be also he had actually overpromised the Gambians and now he knew he couldn't talk about it again, affiliating it to a failure of the past government? If his government was actually serious in fighting removing those draconian laws, as he had actually preempted it in 2016 during the campaign period, and in 2017 when he actually assumed office, it could have been a thing of the past. But it is still in, these laws are still in our constitution, and then they are threatening, absolutely. Because I said once laws are in the system, when they are bad laws, regardless of how dormant they are, they can still be useful. Because anytime, any moment, when somebody is desperate, the person can use them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, like you said, the president just brushed aside. He just made mention of the draconian laws in our constitution, but we all know that the draft constitution failed in parliament. So it's very important that even though he mentioned it, but it would have been really okay if, for example, he specifies or he goes into this detail to explain to government some of the laws that are there and also how they plan to remove them there. But then, yes, still, the like you just mentioned, the president, I've just mentioned about the Gambian context. Like, for example, if you have to look at his government, we should take a look at it in the Gambian 2016 context. Meaning, like you just mentioned, which is very important. Now, it seems like he is not talking like he does before. Before the president, anytime he talks, he says, we found this here, we inherited this, we did that, and we did that. The blame shouldn't be on us, but it should be on the former government. But it's like he is not doing that anymore. Because it means, for example, in another way or indirectly, he doesn't want to mention, for example, the former government, knowing that now that the former government's party is behind him and they have just made an alliance going towards the 2021 elections. And I think that is also a very key important factor that probably we've not seen today, that the president have not taken any blame to point fingers at the former government.
We've also seen major achievements highlighted, such as the issue of the Labour Act, actually amending the Labour Act to actually commensurate it with the ILO, that is the International Labour Organization, their procedures of labor. But in reality, we don't think, I don't think this actually reflects the livelihood of people that are actually doing petty trading, and also people that are employed by some of these institutions like the hoteliers, or even some of the institutions like these foreign shops owners. Because many a times you hear people who would actually lodge their complaint, but even the labor department, once they attend those people, they don't even address it. The better one that we've seen here, a little bit more proactive, is the Human Rights Commission. But to what degree? When you go to the ombudsman, they tell you they have a mandate which is restricted and limited. So hearing the president talk about it, it is very good. But in reality, how much does it affect the livelihood of people, Omar, is a big question.
Yeah, that takes me to last week's visit from the Minister of Trade to some of these investors in the Gambia. When he went there, he spoke to some of these investors, and some of these Gambians who were working there, they were so annoyed with the minister because they said the minister could have had a meeting with them, because the minister went directly to some of these investors, the owners of these factories. He only spoke to them, and they were telling him their interests, like for example, the failure of electricity, and then also the freight cost at the Gambia Ports Authority, and so on. But they were not telling the minister some of the challenges that his workers or these laborers are facing at these workplaces. And I think that is very important.
But the minister even observed that. He said safety of the workers is a concern that he personally observed. So we were taking such issues. Once you're talking about the review and amendment of the Labor Act, understanding this issue, the president should have highlighted that as a constraint. Then, because the purpose of a president addressing the nation is to actually speak for us. More specifically, people who don't have the opportunity and powers. But indeed, he talked about the youth and sports. Last year, he talked about it. He mentioned the achievement that we had, our participation in the just recent ended Olympics, but also our qualification for the first time to the AFCON. These are important issues. However, we've also seen the Gambia couldn't play one of its test game, and then the constraint was, as mentioned, it is an issue that is related to finance. When we actually saw a lot of issues happening in the Gambia, we believe sometimes there are need for also people to actually be more responsive. Though the government cannot do it alone, we also expect other partners like all sectors to actually chip in. But the government has to take the lead, Omar.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is very important, like you just mentioned. But then, Kausa, I'll just leave you with the honorable member for Nyamena, that's Omar Sise. We have him. He's also going to share with us his opinion on what the president has just said. Honorable Omar Sise is just around. We will give him, honorable, please have a seat. Honorable.
Absolutely.
Yes,
thank you very much. That's the youngest honorable, like I used to call him, the youth honorable.
Yeah.
And then, honorable, it's a pleasure having you live at Star TV.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure joining the platform.
Yes, this is an opportunity that comes once every year. People have been complaining, why can't we have it in the beginning of the year?
Very well.
Like early January or within the first quarter of the year. Then it can also help National Assembly members, the media and pressure groups to actually hold the government to account, reminding them of some of the promises and pledges that they made. But we always seem to have it in the final quarter or second to the final quarter. How generally, what is your reaction towards that?
Thank you very much. I think that is a very important concern that every Gambian, especially the legislature, to pin out as a concern, because the State of the Nation address has much to do with things or the affairs that will affect the fiscal year 2021. So it is very prudent or important for the president or the government to come at least at the beginning of the year to ensure that all policies and programs affecting that particular year is outlined, so that the legislature, the media, and the Gambian people can hold the government or the president accountable. But if you wait until the end tail of the year, you want to give a State of the Nation address, things that affected already months, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months ago, it will be very difficult for one to scrutinize that. But if you have it at the beginning of the year, you will realize that scrutiny can take place along the way. But now it will be difficult for one to scrutinize what has already passed.
Generally, also, your region had been mentioned, CRR, the issue of at the point of fisheries, where he mentioned that when it comes to in CRR, the fish ponds has been upgraded to meet a specific capacity, but he didn't mention in either is it on monthly, is it on quarterly or annual basis, and this will be difficult to be monitored. Whether your constituents and then generally your colleague National Assembly members has also observed that, because if he said the production for 3 months, then it means after if people can go there and confirm whether the production is less. But he just mentioned at a specific production capacity, but he didn't give a specific range. It will be difficult to be monitored. Have you observed that?
Yeah, I have observed the same point. It will be relevant for statistics to be given, or the periodic manner in which they want to go ahead to have this implemented. It will be very important. But the most important thing here will be, National Assembly members normally, especially if you are in the opposition, the government will not involve you in the project that they are implementing. But having this into account, you realize that it would have been prudent for National Assembly members from that very area to be consulted, to be engaged, to participate in that formation. You will realize that during the scrutiny process, those who participated in that formulation, you will understand that they will have a better idea of how to go about the scrutiny. But if you have no idea about that particular thing, you can only assign committees of the National Assembly to go and scrutinize that very project. But it will be difficult as you speak. I don't have much idea. This is something that we are getting from the president, and we don't have very detailed information about it. But committees responsible will go ahead and scrutinize and better understand what actually this project is all about and how they intend to go ahead with the project.
And you get this information only 4 months towards the end of the year. How relevant will this be to National Assembly members in Sierra, more specifically the one who's in which the project falls into, that is SAPO?
Yeah, you know, from now against December, to me, I am seeing this statement, or most of these promises, most of the things that are said in this National Assembly today, these are most of the things that cannot be achieved in between 2, 3, 4 months to election. It's not possible. Things that you have been mentioning to us since 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, you cannot achieve much about it, and you want to tell us these are things that you still want to achieve in between 2, 3 months. It is not possible. Some of these things are political propaganda. We know cannot be achieved in between.
This can be political propaganda. That is Omar Cisse, Honorable. Thank you very much for coming to Star TV Live.
Thank you very much.
Indeed, kooku moo nekk ki nga xamante ne moom mooy Omar Cisse dégg nañ kàddu yi nga xamante ne wax na ko mu nekk kàddu yoo ñu rafetlu mu jógee fi nga xamante ne moom mooy ci CRR président bi tudd na foofu noonu mu nekk waxtaan bi nga xamante ne waxtaan bu ñu rafetlu la léegi nag li ñoo def rek dinañ waxtaan tamit ak benn ci ñi nga xamante ne moom it National Assembly member la teewal li nga xamante ne moom mooy ndawal dégg député yi Honorable, welcome to Star TV.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Star TV, for inviting me today.
Yes, indeed, we've listened to the president. I know I will take it up on the issue of the major achievement of this government, that is access to information. The president mentioned that it had been a major achievement that people have been yearning for, but also it has been one of the things that they actually promised people from 2016. But also one of the issues that he had mentioned, and Bros touched it but didn't go into detail, is the issue of the draconian laws in the constitution that are not favorable for the media. He also mentioned that. Generally, what is your reaction towards these two issues? We have access to information law, but there are draconian laws still in the constitution that can actually affect access to information.
Actually, first of all, I think we need to thank the president for delivering a wonderful speech in the National Assembly. I've said it before. This is one of the best speeches the president delivered since we started the SONA. With the ATI bill, I think is a significant achievement for the media. And having draconian laws in the constitution, I think one thing we need to look at is, I think the government, we will be able to see how best we will match these two. Okay. Having the ATI bill is one, having draconian laws in the constitution is another thing. And I think we will see, because we are coming to election in 2021. The draft constitution is still here. Like they said, it's still sleeping. It has been rejected in Parliament, yes, but it's still sleeping. Yes. I mean, it may come again. And then all these things will be rectified, I think, in due course. Yeah.
Okay, that is important. Absolutely, I had mentioned our participation in the just ended Olympics. Actually, it's a significant achievement, and a lot of other issues when it comes to the youth and sports sector. However, there are major challenges that we expect the president could have mentioned, like we couldn't play our first test games, and then we all know that it was as a result of financial constraint. We were expecting central government to chip in, but we didn't. I know the old government cannot do it alone. Generally, what is your take on that?
Yeah, you know, the president will only give a synopsis of what is happening at the ministry and what happens in that sector. Now, it is the responsibility of members of National Assembly to go and read and find out. I mean, this is where we hold the government accountable to scrutinize exactly what the president said with regards to that sector. And I know the ministry have a lot of information about what is happening in that sector. When you want to have the information, the ministry will come out and clarify some of the issues. But basically, for me, I think the president touched on what is important for the country as of now. Because every government will come. I mean, when you are delivering your speech, you give people what you have done, what you are not able to do. And I think he has done that. We know we have a lot of issues we want the president to address, but those things cannot be addressed in the speech here. We understand that. So now it's left to us as representatives to go and find out those information and then also feed the people. about exactly what happened in those ministries.
Transport, he has actually significant achievement. He has highlighted more specifically in the second capital, that is URR. We've seen actually areas that were hard to reach had actually been connected to Basse, and this is a major achievement. We have seen other projects also that is connecting the other side of Wuli to also main Basse. So these are achievements that he has been highlighted, and this is something that the people of URR in general had been waiting for, because Basse is a major hub for the URR, and only not connecting URR but also to part of Senegal and Guinea.
You see, I think the president did very well. I mean, in my own capacity as a member of parliament and as a representative, I said, no government comes into being and, plan and, solve every problem at a go. That doesn't happen anywhere. And I think they have started good. URR, like you said, the transport sector, I think there is significant improvement in that area as well. A lot of areas have been connected now. Before you go to Wuli, you sleep on the way before you arrive in Basse. Now you can go within 30 minutes and come back to Basse. And I think that's a significant achievement for the government. People need to understand, and people need also to, to be able to express the fact that, there is significant improvement. Why is it so difficult for people to talk about the truth about the government when they are doing good? This is my problem all the time with people. I said, the government is doing good. It's just that we have not seen exactly what we wanted to see as individuals. But I think there is improvement in all the sectors that we have within the government. Only 5 years is not enough for a government to do all what they wanted to do. And I think that is why government will want to have a second term to be able to achieve their desired goal within all the plans that they have within the sector. So as far as I am concerned, I think the speech has touched on every sector relevant for the government. It's just a snow. Now we will go out there and also have relevant information about what the president said, and also feed up so that this country can move.
Yes, sometimes not necessarily people are so ambitious, but general plans that we have, like if you look at on the 2021, absolutely 2017, 2020 have been embedded, not achieved. People based on their plans. So if the government said, I want to do X, Y, Z, and the government cannot do half of that, you measure the government based on what they could have done and what they couldn't.
Yeah, but now when we start measuring that, you said the president wanted, the government wanted to do this, and they are not able to do this. What is the block for them not to be able to achieve that goal? People also need to understand. Probably it's a financial constraint. And then we all know that Gambia is a tax-based economy.
Yes.
I mean, I can plan something and I know that the money is not available as of now. That may be a block for the government. That is my own perception. And I think we need to understand all those things. The president made the remark. He has made mention of significant achievement by the government. He also made mention of some of the gaps that are happening within the thing. We have been engaging the ministers of various, ministries as National Assembly members. They have outlined some of the gaps that they have within their ministry. And I think we have been getting those informations as members of parliament. Now the address is only on significant areas. On Monday, we will deliberate on the address. Members of the National will have the opportunity to dialogue more on the address. Talk about the issues, the gaps, the achievements, and some of the things that are not being able to do.
Finally, on the issue of transport, the transport union is threatening to actually go on a sit-down strike come Monday. The president had so many achievements so far, more specifically in the provincial areas, but still we haven't seen much within the greater Banjul, and this is where traffic is highly concentrated. And if the transport union is to go by their threat, it means by Monday, they will be on a sit-down strike, and that might also affect the education sector, more specifically the students in grade 12. And education is one of his major achievements that he highlighted, more specifically basic and secondary.
No, I think they are coming to that, because in the urban center, I think they had plans for the urban center. You talk about the 20 roads project that is coming up. I mean, the government have plans. They are coming up. The transport union going into a sit-down strike, if you ask me, I'll tell you it's politically motivated. That is my opinion. And some of these things will only deter our development as a country. And we need to look further. Exactly what is bringing us to that contention. You understand? There is not much to talk about in terms of going into strike, because we do not have X, Y, and Z. You understand? Go into dialogues. Talk about issues. Solve problems amicably outside. But going into strikes, deterring the progress of our country is something that we need to look at as people. That is my opinion.
Finally, did you feel that this government had actually represented your constituents very well within the year that is under review, 2021?
Of course, yes. If you ask me, I'll tell you exactly. They have really represented my constituency.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for coming to Star TV.
Thank you.
ñun ñoo ko déggandor xam naa ne suma naataango bi dina ñëw ñu continuer li nga xamante ne moom mooy waxtaan bi mu wax lu am solo dégg nañ li nga xamante ne moom mooy ñaari honorable yooyu di ndawal déggi député yi li nga xamante ne moom mooy seen kaddu yi ki nga xamante ne léegi nii moom la jógee waxtaanal dégg nañ kaddu yi nga xamante ne wax na ko Omar absolutely di nekk na mbir mi nga xamante ne luñ rafetlu la am nañ ñaari ndawal néegi député yi waxtaan nañ ak ñoom si altine bi dinañ continuer li nga xamante ne moom mooy seen gestu bi di càmbar waaye waxtaan bi amoon na solo Omar naka nga si jàngate
waaw waxtaan bi am na li ñu doon wax la rek loolu laa si jàngat because Omar Cissé bu mu fi toogee mu laa wan ne comme time bi dafa gàtt trop ñetti weer moo des balaa ñoo génn si at bi so pour ñooñu war a def seen jàngat si ñetti weer yooyu xam président bi li mu wax ak fu mu ko teg ak ndax li mu wax loolu lu am la réalité la loo xam ne mu ngi si ground bi waxtu boobu dafa néew loolu te man tamit loolu doon na loo xam ne jàngatoon nañ ko war nañ ko sax balaa gars yi di door balaa président bi di door te yaakaar naa ne loolu système boobu daal sunu government wala suñu réew war nañoo mën a try ñu génnee système boobu nga xam ne président buy ñëw dafay war a teel a ñëw diggante January ba March enough time la pour président bi war a prépare boppam ak ñu war a prépare ñu prépare su ko defee ñu defar seen kayit yi njoko président mu ñëw président boppam in parlement mu wax lal moo nekk yéeneem ak naka la bëgg a liggéey réew mi xaare ba septembre loolu te right now bépp député boo munti laajte du la mun a jox insight bu bari xëy na mun na laa jox synopsis mun na laa jox tuuti rek wala tuuti ci li nga xam ne jàngat na ko si président bi lu mu wax na pour mu wax dëgg-dëgg foog mu dem mu toog mu xoolal si président bi mu xool jàngat yi bari nga xam ne moom def na ko si mu xool li mun a d'accord ak président bi ak loo xam ne mënu ko see d'accord moo tax right now daal réaction yi député yi daal daanaka du gudda kawsu man daal loolu laa si jàngat daal
absolutely seen réaction mënut a gudda parce que amuñu woon opportunité sax pour jot li nga xamante ne moom mooy kayit bi nga xamante ne léegi nii président bi taalif na ko si li nga xamante ne moom mooy balaa boobu moo tax nag gannaaw bu mu ko joxee dina leen jox diir comme altine ñoom dinañ war a mun a toog càmbar te su fekkee ne soxla nañ ko comme loi bi nu mu ko waxee date su fekkee soxla nañ ko dinañ ko oolu mu ñëw su fekkee ne nag oolu nañ ko moom wala li nga xamante ne moom mooy toftal si moom di vice président bi mun naa ñëw mu nekk mbir mi nga xamante ne office bi is represented naam ñu bëri luñ dee gën a yaakaar mooy na président bi ñëw comme nu mu ñëwee wax mu ñëw tamit si laajteeg tontu yi
waaw loolu sa kaw su une propre démocratie yaakaar naa ne parce que président bi moom moo amee police programme moom si boppam moo dee taxaw mu ne leen ne dama bëgg a kii jàppale ma si suma agenda obviously nag ñi nga bëgg ñu jàppale sa agenda soo ko amee sa bopp sa agenda yow yaa ko war a mën a priser in parliament soo amee nag pour fit bi pour priser ko in parliament war ngaa mën a am fit bi tamit pour taxawaat ñu lacce la nga mën a am tontu ngay tontu gaay waaye solo nga soo mën a def loolu rek am na loo xam ne dafa def parce que président bi la nit ñi fal nekkul vice président bi président baa koy fal président bi nag nit ñaa ko fal te dama yaakaar ne su only dafa jaadu rek pour président bi si boppam mu ñëw mu taxawal askan bi ak ñi nga xam ne ñoom ñoo fa nekk askan bi ñu lacce ko moom tam mu mën a tontu waaye solo nga su loolu amul loolu daal dafa mel ni ba léegi daal suñu am nañ démocratie waaye nag fuñ bëgg a mu àgg dafay mel ni àggagut fa wéni comme su accountability daal
mu nekk mbir bi nga xam ne lu am solo bokk na si li nga xamante ne ñu bëri ñu ngi ko doon séentu the level of corruption bi nga xamante ne ñu ngi ko tuumal suñ nguur gi bëri na waaye président bi dafa ñëw tànxam lu si ñu ngi ñoo woon ne waxtu mu ngi ñoo xoj xam naa ne fuñ jaar ñu tàggatoo waaye generally final rek lan moo si nekkoon sa yaakaar si wàllu corruption bi
waaw corruption bi lu nekk suma yaakaar si foofu rek mooy ne président bi dina ko gàttal waaye nag daanaka xam naa ne du si wax lu bëri yàggul noonu am nañ ak moom interview li mu si wax mooy ne nañ ko andil evidence da xam nga nag corruption pour nga produce evidence boo xam ne is unrefutable dafa nekk evidence bu jafe boo nag yaakaar naa ne government bi comme ñu ngi waaj pour sos anti corruption commission dinañ ci def ay taxawaay
jërëjëf Omar xam naa ne fu mu nekk nii fuñ jaar tàggatoo kon nag askan bi nga xamante ne ñoom ñoo seetaan fii ci li nga xam ne moom mooy National Assembly man la seen doomi ndey Kawsu Badji di leen wax bye bye jox kaddu yi ki nga xamante ne moom mooy suma naataango Omar Tunkara jox leen dig daje beneen yoon waaye si kanam tuuti mun ngeen ñoo topp